Donald Trump pounced on Hillary Clinton for the Inspector General report from the State Department saying that Clinton broke government rules by using a private email server as Secretary of State. Also criticism of how emails were handed over or not handed over. However, Bernie Sanders, Clinton's Democratic opponent, is refusing to do so. Why? And is it the right thing to do? Let's discuss with Ben Wikler. Washington director for MoveOn.org organization has endorsed Bernie Sanders. Sanders is saying, I'm not going to get into the Inspector General report. Let the process play out. Does that mean that this doesn't matter, Mr. Wikler?
You know, if you're a voter who's eating breakfast, you've got a stack of bills on your kitchen table, you're not thinking to yourself, oh, I'm going to vote this election about the State Department's email handling protocols. You're thinking about the issues that are motivating Bernie Sanders' whole race. You're thinking about things like the minimum wage, expanding Social Security, making college affordable for people with tuition-free public colleges. Those are the reasons why Bernie Sanders is in politics. That's the reason why he's in this election. And that's what he's going to continue to run on. I think that's really the central fact of this question.
Well, I have ways of breaking down those who attack me on social media by camp. Bernie's people I call the burners. Those are his attack dogs. Clinton's I call the Clintonistas, and Trump's I call the trumpets. The trumpets, of course, are all over this morning. The Clintonistas are all over me, saying that I shouldn't be pressing on this the way I am. But it's the Inspector General who came out with the report. The burners seem puzzled by why Bernie Sanders isn't saying this is about trust. This is about who will do the job of president, transparency, accountability, responsibility to the people, instead of protecting yourself from transparency. Why aren't those issues at the top of your agenda?
So first thing I'd say is that the most vocal people on social media don't necessarily represent the broad mass of millions of people who have been supporting Bernie Sanders throughout this campaign.
I hope that's the case. I hope the people on social media don't represent anything in any real and true general way. I hope it is an exaggeration of reality. Continue.
So the second thing is, fundamentally, this is about a vision for what American politics should be about, for what the Democratic Party should be about. Sanders, since day one, has been calling for a political revolution that is beyond any one or two candidates, that's fundamentally about whether the system works for the billionaire class or for regular people, working people, the middle class. And that's the case that he's continuing to press. I think making this about the individual personalities involved is actually a disservice to the big goals that the Sanders campaign has been focused on. And when you see 13,000 people cheering at a rally for Bernie Sanders in California, they're not there because of their, opinion about the personal characteristics of those involved. They're there because of a vision of a country that works for them and for everybody in the United States.
What do you think is going to happen in California, and how big a deal do you think it is if Sanders wins?
I think it's an enormous deal, and I think that everybody who turns out, every door that gets knocked on in the primary process, every delegate that's won after the votes are counted, represents a step forward in this agenda of changing the way American politics works, fundamentally changing our campaign finance system, tackling catastrophic climate change.
How? Even if he wins California, he cannot win the nomination on a first ballot. He would be depending on the group of people that the burners attack all the time, which are the superdelegates, either those who are uncommitted at this point or changing the minds of those who are committed. So it wouldn't matter that way.
So for decades, there's been this idea that there's a spectrum from left to right in American politics, and that there's kind of like a bell curve distribution, that people sit in the middle, and that if you want to succeed in politics, you just go right to the middle where the voters are. But the fact is that the Sanders campaign is showing day by day that it's not actually that way, that people are conflicted, they hold a variety of beliefs, and that there's incredible passion for changing the system and making it work for regular people. So every vote for Bernie Sanders at this point is especially another stake in the heart of this old myth about American politics, and a finger pointing towards a direction where if you stand up and fight against special interests, if you stand up and fight for a system that works for everybody, that's how you can win support, votes, contributions, volunteers. The things that power an electoral victory come from passion and authenticity for issues that affect people's lives directly. And I think that's what Sanders is fighting for here. He's proving his case that you can win by standing up for regular people in a corrupt system.
If Sanders doesn't get the nomination, are you going to back Clinton?
if Sanders doesn't get the nomination, we've been clear from the beginning at MoveOn.org that we're going to support the eventual Democratic nominee against Donald Trump, who frankly has been running a campaign that is a shameful stew of bigotry, xenophobia, racism, and erratic, dangerous pledges to expand the nuclear powers around the world. We don't want that guy's finger on the big red button. And we'll be supporting the Democratic nominee to make sure that he never gets anywhere close to the nuclear code.
You think Sanders has crossed the line in terms of having a robust debate to making it so that his supporters are disinclined to back Clinton?
No, I think Sanders has been fighting, from the beginning for the ideas that animate his campaign. He's going to fight, a tough fight all the way through these primaries and caucuses. And at the end, I'm confident that, as he said many times, he knows that Donald Trump is too dangerous to be allowed anywhere near the White House. He's going to be out there fighting alongside this enormous movement that he's helped to build to make sure that the country isn't handed over to someone who would steer it off a cliff.
It'll be interesting to see what happens afterwards. There are a lot of Democrats who are saying that the reason that Trump and Clinton are close right now is because the Sanders people haven't gotten in line behind Clinton yet. Let's see what happens at the convention and beyond. Mr. Wikler, appreciate your perspective as always.